That Naturopathic Podcast. TNP.
Hello there.
Hi, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dr. Michelle Pobega, naturopathic doctor.
And I'm Dr. David Miller, ND, and we hear your frustrations. This show is for you.
This show is for you if you're feeling like your current healthcare strategy is not getting to the root cause or the underlying reasons for your health.
This show is for you if you've been told that you're fine, but you definitely don't feel very well.
This show is for you if you're walking out of your doctor's office with 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 medications without any mention of diet, lifestyle, or a long-term game plan.
This show is for you if you've got several specialists taking care of you, but no one is really putting all the pieces together.
This show is for you if you believe that health should be part of healthcare. These problems have solutions.
We know it.
Our patients know it.
And we want you to know it.
Naturopathic medicine is the solution that you should know about.
Welcome to another episode of That Naturopathic Podcast. Dr. David Miller, ND, here with Dr. Michelle Pobega, ND. What's up?
Hey, hi, Dave. How's it going?
Good. LACTOFERRIN today.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. And you know what? I'm kind of happy you threw this on my radar, coincidentally, because I was working with a patient who struggles with C. diff. And then another patient of mine, so actually a possible new patient, reached out who's been struggling with C. diff and basically on antibiotics for the last year. And I'm kind of like, good Lord. And I came across some studies that were talking about how there's elevated lactoferrin levels in fecal samples with people who have C. diff. And it's probably because it's increasing because of its trying to fight off this microbe. But I wonder if it could also be used as part of the strategy to help overcome by further supplementing with something like this. I was trying to see if I could find anything like that, but in my quick search today, I wasn't able to. So I'd have to look into that a little further. But I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something in there just because of how it works. And we'll get into the nitty-gritties of that. And I was like, there's got to be support for that. And I just keep thinking more and more of my gut health patients that could use this, but also iron deficiency people. Hello.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right? And I always forget about it. I don't know why. It's not on my radar, but I think it's going to be on now. So
I'll tell you why I forget about it sometimes is the price.
Yeah, it's not accessible
Just
for everybody.
Straight up, that's a lot of it. Because I'm having a tough time thinking who wouldn't benefit from it.
Yeah, seriously.
You know?
I hear you. But here's the thing is like, okay, so yes, the price. But then I was wondering about lactoferrin is naturally part of something like colostrum is
exactly
it. So that might be a more affordable form. And then you get a whole bunch of other immunoglobulins along with that and other, benefits from the colostrum. So I wonder if I haven't compared the price point between our two recordings, but lactoferrin in isolation is like AOR has a product and it's like $95 just for that product when I looked it up on FullScript today. And I was like, yowza.
Yeah, I actually bought they have another one that's like a lactoferrin heavy concentration of lactoferrin based whey protein. I think it's $500.
Yeah, I remember there was at the Big Carrot, there was this whey protein and people who had immune issues would gravitate towards that. And it didn't make sense to me, I remember at that time, because I was like, yeah, but if you have an autoimmune condition, if you're really deficient, isn't whey going to be an irritant? Isn't dairy proteins going to be an irritant? But they were taking it was a specific one. It wasn't just whey protein isolate powder. It was like a dairy. And it was because of the colostrum and the immunoglobulins. And they found that it really improved their immune function by drinking this. And that's when this started to come on my radar. But again, it wasn't something that I still sourced out often. And I'm kind of, now that I've like looked into a little bit more, I was like kind of shooting myself in the foot that it's like, I'm kind of kicking myself in the pants, more the expression I'm looking for. Because it is pretty incredible, but you're right. The price point is a hard one to swallow. But for some of those more aggressive cases, this might actually really improve healing, I think, in gut. And a part of me is just like, do I need this possibly? Like, I feel like I always think I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac that way. Every time I learn a new supplement, I was like, do I need this supplement? I really need to chill.
Well, I mean, look, if there's any suspicions of microbial pathogenic influence, then it decreases virulence. So,
yeah,
is it worth it? I think so.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
And then
So
it's anti-inflammatory in terms of its, so, the patients I struggle with giving iron to are those who are inflamed,
yeah. Now,
right? Because
what
they're
made
going to
you,
struggle.
what was it? What was the inspiration to talk about this? Because you brought this to my attention.
That's a great follow-up to what we just talked about with biofilms, and how there's like quorum sensing, and so
Oh yeah.
this is anti biofilm, this is microbial and antiviral,
Mm,
antimicrobial,
right.
anti-parasitic. So I thought it was a nice follow-up
Are you
to what
using
we
it
talked about
currently
last
with
time.
any, are you using it with
Yeah,
any patients right now? And
I
is okay.
do. I do, but I have to take in consideration the price,
Yeah.
and I hate that.
Yeah.
But that's reality.
Yeah.
But I think as I read more about it, what we do have to at some, maybe we'll talk about another time, is you brought up a good question about colostrum. Like let's look at the value-based argument for colostrum versus lactoferrin, because the
Mm-hmm.
research is really good for lactoferrin, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. Like if someone's inflamed or they have pathogenic influence, or maybe like a microbial sort of component to their struggles, well, then we're including, I mean, how many of your patients would you say, Michelle, have one or both of those as sort of obstacles to cure?
I mean, 99%
Yeah,
considering my
it's a lot.
demographic.
It's a lot.
But also
So
like autoimmune conditions. There's research in cancer care
it's
because it's
immunomodulatory.
yeah. So um yeah, it's pretty awesome. So just like a little quick and dirty, lactoferrin is a glycoprotein that's found in milk. It's also found in tears, in saliva of mammals, and it's important nutrient for the gut immune access. So that's why we're bringing it into the mix. Now, there's something called the GALT, the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, and it is basically located in the lining of the gastrointestinal tract, and it has various lymphoid tissues, like just like your tonsils, your adenoids, and like your Peyer's patches, which are in your intestinal tract. And they're basically designed to detect and react to potential threats like bacteria, viruses, other foreign substances. And, majority of our immune system resides in the gut, especially in our intestines, which is why it's important to support it. And lactoferrin has an effect on supporting our gut. And there's also a product from Physica Energetics that I've used called Galt Fortifier, and it actually has colostrum in it, which then when they break down their ingredients for the physician's monograph, it talks about lactoferrin specifically, but then there's other things like, peptides to break things up, mucilage, okra, things like that to kind of all work together to support the mucous membranes and the immune function of the small intestines and the integrity of that barrier as well from a intestinal permeability perspective. So, I mean, like, and I love that product. I just don't use it enough. And I think you have to use a relatively high amount because of everything combined. And, but I think I might have to start putting it back on the radar.
The dose range, like the studies do range from, I think, as low as 200 or 250 milligrams, which is the dose of the one tiny pill that I get from AOR.
Yeah.
I'm dosing someone at 2 pills
Yeah.
daily for now, because we're very suspicious. Everything's gone awry after a trip back from tropical areas. So
Yeah.
it's part of, we have the ability in this case to do that, and we're doing it. It's going to decrease the virulence of that whatever immunological challenge that's going
Right.
on.
So the interesting thing is that it has effects on viruses. It has effects on bacteria. It'll also work on fungal issues, from what I can understand. When I was looking into the research, it was saying there's 3 specific mechanisms that it can start to affect microbial issues, one of which is through bacteriostatic activity mediated by chelating free iron, and we can expand on that in a second, which, because as we've talked about in previous episodes, especially our anemia of inflammation episode, we've talked about how a lot of pathogens and microbes, they like heavy metals, and iron is a very readily available metal in our bodies, so they're going to feed off of it. So by making less of this nutrient available for bacteria, we have a better chance of being able to eradicate said bacteria or pathogen. The other mechanism is lactoferrin increases the permeability of bacterial cell membranes, through a strong cation binding region at the amino terminus, causing the exudation of bacterial lipopolysaccharides and other cell contents from the outer membranes, and then producing a direct bactericidal effect because it starts to affect the cell membrane, bacterial membrane. And then it also hydrolyzes to obtain antimicrobial peptides, which then exert stronger antimicrobial effects. That's what I found. Did you find anything else? When it comes to its direct effect on microbes, those are the three mechanisms that I found in this research paper.
No, I didn't go into those as much. The more fascinating part for me is the effects on iron and just how everyone uses iron. Everyone's trying to steal iron from each other. It's like there's an iron war. It's like an oil war. Like everyone's trying to steal it from each other.
Yeah.
The bacteria have ways of stealing it from us, and we have ways of keeping it from them. And lactoferrin is one of them. So in terms of, I guess I biased on my day-to-day practice, which is I got a lot of people who are inflamed, and I got a lot of people who have inflammation and iron deficiency.
Yeah.
Anemia, sometimes all of those things. And I go, well, shit, what are we going to do? Like, we can throw iron in because you need it, but these other buggers are going to do it. And then you can have those cases where your ferritin's kind of high, but the person's kind of anemic. So they have stored the iron, but they're not really releasing it. Right. I mean, it just is it's an extraordinarily helpful molecule when it comes to iron dynamics. It puts everything in your favor.
Yeah. Independent of transferrin, right? Because we have transferrin that helps move iron in, but then lactoferrin also has an ability to support our iron absorption on an intestinal level. Right? Hello?
Yeah. I think I lost you there.
Yeah, we had a little freeze moment there in our technology, but I think we're back. So, and
the freezing has continued.
The freezing has continued.
It's
a great day all around for technology today, isn't it?
Yeah, you're red. Your internet is red there, I think.
Oh, weird.
So we'll just do a little slice here.
Okay.
Oh, you're yellow now. That should be good now.
Okay. What was the last thing I said that you
I don't
heard?
know. I said I will struggle to find I'll struggle to find reasons to not give this to people, basically, is what I said. And I don't know what you said after that. I
didn't hear that part, and I wonder if you were saying that when I was saying my part. So maybe we'll have to splice and then let's do the last thing we were talking about, its affinity for iron. So I was going to say how it's independent of transferrin for helping iron absorption on an intestinal level. Did you hear that part from me?
Yeah, and then I followed up and said, yes, it is in the transferrin family.
Okay, so why don't we just start again, and you repeat that, and then, or I repeat my part, you repeat your part, and then we can splice it accordingly or something. Sure. So yeah, the lactoferrin has a high affinity for iron, and it acts as independently of, say, transferrin to also bring iron ions through the intestines. It is a transporter like transferrin, but this one's called lactoferrin. So it's an additional way of getting iron across the intestines, which is amazing.
It is. It's and it's in the transferrin family, so hence the sort of commonalities between them. I am really, I'm struggling to think of a lot of patients who could not use this at this sort of onset of care.
Yeah.
To sort of decrease virulence, to improve hemodynamics, or like iron dynamics, I should say, in the host, which is what you are. And regardless of what we do with bacteria, viruses, this just sort of tilts everything in the favor of you, the host, and that's pretty valuable.
Well, I saw somewhere that it said it has a 250 to 300 times higher affinity for ferric ions than transferrin.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then so it helps with iron. It also acts as an ion redox homeostasis regulator. Helps chelating iron and neutralizing iron mediated free radicals, and it can also reduce oxidative stress and improve host defense by optimizing iron metabolism as well. So I feel like the more, with all those extra qualities that it has, it feels like it could be quite bad. And I wonder if that is where part of the benefit of good quality dairy used to be. I don't know if this is, and I know that this is like a sticky point for people, and obviously we're not legally allowed to sell like raw milk and stuff, but I wonder if even like that was where the benefits of like good quality raw milk was. I don't know what the pasteurization process does and how it affects protein structures in our milk, because it's not the same. And even like all the other bastardization we've done to milk, has that reduced the quality of it? Because I think inherently this gave us certain benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So
which are amplified in colostrum, right? Which
yeah,
you talked about, the
right.
first, because you have no immune system, or mammals have very little sort of immune system to
Right.
deal with, you know, pathogens to the outside. So that's why the first milk has got so much of this
Yeah.
immune tonic colostrum, which is, like you said, full of lactoferrin.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I just love like how it's like it helps deprive bacteria of the iron that they would require to reproduce. And releases the iron into the red blood cells and enhancing oxygenation of tissues. Like it really just does work in our favor.
Yeah, I mean,
right? Like it's kind of like, great, sign me up.
Yeah, I'm like, I've had a few love affairs, you know, times with lactoferrin, and I'm on to another one.
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to get on board with this. My googly hard eyes for lactoferrin is gonna start now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like I said, we're following up last week's episode where we're talking about virulence, which
that
is
was
totally.
That was 2 episodes ago.
Oh,
Quorum
so
sensing.
was that 2 ago? Sorry.
We did methylation last week.
Oh, that's right. B12.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so it's probably related to follow up that, because we need non-pathocidal, like non just killing bacteria directly approaches like this. I mean, I don't have studies on the use of this and antibiotics at the same time, you know, but I would imagine this would just contribute to like a bigger, more holistic, comprehensive approach to like dealing with the battle that we have with bugs.
Well, I think so, because here's the thing is like, if you're giving an antibiotic, this is not a probiotic. It's not like you're going to be killing this. This is just enforcing other things. And the beautiful thing about lactoferrin is that it's been shown to strengthen gut integrity. And we do know that by giving antibiotics, we start to weaken gut integrity. It leads to higher predisposition for passive leaky gut, permeability, etc. So, and if we can increase the mucosal production and preventing endotoxins from leaking out of the intestines into the bloodstream through the use of lactoferrin, we further help support the effects of an antibiotic or an antimicrobial herb. And so it's been shown and reported to help with repairing disruptions to the gut barrier, otherwise caused by chronic stress. And this particular tidbit I got even says course of antibiotics. So I imagine that using it either in conjunction or immediately following when we start to give good bacteria, S. boulardii, all those kinds of things, that this would be an important step with people's healing processes for that. And maybe it can't be lactoferrin specifically, but maybe it's colostrum if there's a cost efficiency there. And then you get some of those other immunoglobulins, because you're still going to benefit from like a colostrum supplementation. And then on top of that, it has anti-inflammatory support and immunoregulatory support. So I feel like maybe for someone like, especially with the possible new patient that I have that has been on rounds and rounds of antibiotics for C. difficile, I feel like I might have to bring something like this in sooner than later for her. So
yeah, I'm just thinking anyone who I have quite a strong suspicion of pathogenic influence, this is on the radar. Just a couple of nerdy, study things, some studies for iron deficiency anemia in children with IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, the clinical trial from 2022, showing far fewer side effects of lactoferrin when used in a pediatric population. over elemental iron or ferrous sulfate, increasing hemoglobin, serum iron, transferrin saturation, and serum ferritin. Remember, these are all things that I think, Michelle, you test all these things when you do a comprehensive iron panel. Unfortunately, they're not done on a regular basis. I don't find by the monolithic Ontario system, including transferrin saturation. That's really, really important, and it seems to improve that. So serum iron, transferrin saturation, serum ferritin, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin's not enough as an evaluation, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But they all improve compared to ferrous sulfate, which is like I would say that's standard of care, right?
Yeah,
Ferrous
I would say
sulfate,
so.
the big red pill, makes you constipated and
Or
nauseous.
gluconate, ferrous gluconate
Yeah,
is
there's
another
another
one.
Yeah.
That was another one, and they're like is it Ferromax is the big one, or what are the ones? But
Yeah,
people
that's
come in with
another
like 300 milligrams, and I'm like,
one.
God, your body's you're gonna absorb maybe at max like 8 to 10% of that if your GI health is equipped to do so, if you have enough stomach acid, and if you have your microbiome is in check. And then at the end of the day, that's a really aggressive amount of iron. Like we have talked about in our past iron episodes, it's like too much and too little, both of which are not good. So overloading is also not beneficial. And if we're thinking about the microbial content of stuff, if you already have the wrong microbes in the gut, like what are you doing? You're just feeding them an excessive amount.
Exactly. That's why this stuff is so cool.
So cool. Yeah. So we want to be mindful about how our approach is to support people. And I think I have a bunch of people who have like some weird wonky iron panels and it doesn't make sense. And I'm wondering if like this is going to have to start to come in sooner for some of those clients as well for me. The other thing I found interesting about lactoferrin that I found has a bit of a prebiotic effect. So a key mechanism is its prebiotic effect of selectively promoting the growth of beneficial bacteria. So studies show that bovine lactoferrin increases populations of bifidobacteria and lactobacilli in the gut while also inhibiting pathogenic like things like E. coli, salmonella, and again, Clostridium. So again, very preferential in our favor when it comes to how its effects are, which is really cool. It's not just, and it's not like a kill, like we were talking about. It's not just going in with guns blazing and creating a war zone. Like this really does have much more of like a support the good and help reduce the bad, but in a way that isn't just linear and aggressive in one direction, right? So I like
Apparently, just a little practical note to adverse events when they did a systematic review of lactoferrin as a treatment for iron deficiency anemia in children. Again, another pediatric group here. They did find that adverse events such as constipation, vomiting, anorexia, which is low appetite, and abdominal pain were found, but there was a significant decrease in constipation in particular seen in the lactoferrin treated group. So maybe there's some rationale for that, but it appears that if you tendency more towards constipation, then maybe lactoferrin is an even better solution than the extra constipating ferrous gluconate or ferrous sulfate, which is
it can further improve effects of constipation. Like it can improve
bowel motility,
transit time and stuff. Okay, got it. Nice.
And then decreases hepcidin. Saw some other studies talking about how it decreases hepcidin or hepcidin. Remember, hepcidin is what the body releases after a big dose or a significant dose enough of iron. The body releases hepcidin or hepcidin to decrease further absorption of iron for the next day. So you can see there's another way in which this helps because it decreases the iron block.
Right. So people who maybe are really extremely deficient, then we might be able to do an everyday dose because we're not going to have that 24-hour interference, and maybe we can also,
exactly
for getting a loading dose in before we have to go into a maintenance effect, that would be helpful. Yeah,
exactly. And I would say this, the logic appeals to the co-administration of lactoferrin and other iron sources at the same time. If you don't think you're going to get enough from just lactoferrin alone. Right, because that doesn't contain iron.
Yeah,
the lactoferrin just changes. It slopes the pitch in your favor, so that the iron distribution is more in your favor. But you still might need to take iron. So I think co-administration in a healthier state. So if it's more just deficiency, then you could consider co-administration. If you're if you have high ferritin and suspicion of or confirmation of pathogens and inflammation, then I would just do lactoferrin first.
I know. I think that might be the entry in too.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people have an iron issue, but then they have these pathogen overloads and they're not detoxing and their body's inflamed, and you're kind of like, oof, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this would be beneficial in multiple ways, from an anti-inflammatory, an immune, and a bactericidal kind of effect, plus improving maybe iron usage in their body to fill up whatever reserves they have a little bit more optimally. I like it. I like it, Dave.
I like it a lot.
Thanks for bringing this back to my attention. I have heart googly eyes now for lactoferrin.
Oh, cool. Well, listen, we'll chat casually about how it seems to be working for us, but
yeah,
it is one of those ones, I think, guys, where it's going to be used a lot more in our practice day to day.
Yeah, I think it's going to make a comeback.
Lactoferrin for the win. And we'll talk, you and I will talk either on the podcast or just together. Maybe we'll talk about it casually sometime, about maybe the difference between lactoferrin and colostrum, because that's a valid thing to maybe discern. Cool.
Sure.
Deal?
I think so. Sounds good.
All right, sister.
Till then.
Okay.